Sven, this is kind of crazy.
This is crazy. It's like summer in February.
And there are thousands of white balls completely in this space.
350,000 to be exact.
Want to do this?
I'm jumping in.
Let's do it, buddy.
Okay, here we go.
Welcome to an interview edition of Your Daily Detroit, recorded on Friday, March 1st, 2019. I'm Jer Stays. Today, we're going to the beach. Well, sort of. And we're also going to tell you how you can too. I'm at 1001 Woodward in downtown Detroit, and me and Sven Gustafson are going to have a chat with Alex Mustonen, a co-founder and partner of a group called Snarkitecture. But before that, real quick, Daily Detroit is brought to you in part by Milo Digital. Milo Digital is a full-service digital marketing agency that engineers quality results through data and innovative strategies. Learn more at milodetroit.com. Snarkitecture is a great name.
Thank you.
Where'd you come up with that?
So when Daniel and I co-founded the practice in 2008, the name was really a huge part of the discussion. Anytime you start something new, you're trying to launch something, the name is really important. And Snarkitecture was a name that came to us for several reasons. Namely, it rhymes with architecture, but it also refers to a Lewis Carroll poem called The Hunting of the Snark. And so that was a sort of source of inspiration for us in thinking about the structure and the goals of the overall practice. The Hunting of the Snark is a nonsense poem that was written for children, and it describes the tale of a crew of misfits that are on the search for this unknown creature called the Snark. So they're aimlessly wandering the ocean with this blank ocean chart as their map. And so we're also interested in some of the ways that Lewis Carroll was working with language, playing with language to create new meaning from old. And we're often thinking about architecture in those terms, thinking about ways that we can take things that exist as familiar elements of architecture, whether that's structure or material or program, and finding ways to manipulate them or reimagine them to new and imaginative effect.
We are speaking in a fanciful space. This is pretty amazing. To paint people a visual picture, there are thousands of white balls in front of us. There is a beach-like ramp. There are sun chairs. There are mirrors. There's a wonderful view of the city.
And it's everything's white in here too. It really seems it amplifies the natural light that is beaming in from these, tall windows.
As the creative force behind this, where does this come from?
Good question. So it comes from the beach, as you might guess, meaning the universal idea of the beach-going experience. So our feeling is that pretty much everyone in the world has been to a beach, and if you haven't been to a beach, you either know someone who's been to a beach or you've seen a beach. And so, again, going back to that idea of taking existing architecture, making it perform in unexpected ways, in this example, we're thinking of the beach as that architecture, as the sort of environment of the beach, and bringing it inside and transforming it by substituting materials, removing color, simply by putting it indoors, changing the scale of it. All of these are ways that we're sort of manipulating the material, the color, again, to create this kind of transformative effect. So one of the most striking things that you mentioned is the monochromatic white. Everything is white in the space, or mostly white, meaning that anything else in the space, us, these pool toys or beach toys, a beach ball, all of those things really stand out in contrast. And it's something that we feel is a really striking effect. But the most important thing about the monochromatic is this idea about transforming the everyday. So our everyday world is filled with color, it's filled with texture, it's filled with millions of different objects that we're seeing constantly. We're interested in creating these spaces and experiences that are simplified. We're taking all of that and stripping it away. So it's not about how can we add things to make it, it's how can we take things away to make it. So when you come into a space like the beach or any other Snarkitecture project, we're inviting you to sort of step away from your day-to-day reality and have this enter into this environment that's unlike what you're experiencing the rest of the time.
That's cool. So talk a little bit about the materials. We're barefoot, and or we have socks on, but we're on this this material that's really interesting. What is it? And also, how many balls do you have floating in the water there, so to speak?
Yeah, so let me just back up a second, maybe give some context in that the first version of this project was created in 2015. It was commissioned by the National Building Museum in Washington, D.C. As part of a summer installation for their museum's atrium. And at that time, the project was it's a little bit larger than this one, and given the resources for the project, the fact that it's a temporary installation, the project was designed around economy and utility. So there are certain things in here that are custom built, but Other things are rented, other things are temporarily sourced. Materials are either inexpensive or recyclable or both. And so that's really pushed the direction of some of the materials. From the material standpoint, the starting point is the balls. The balls are something that we had been thinking about conceptually, creatively, materially within the studio for some time, and really not the idea. When you think of a sphere or a ball, you're thinking of an object, and we were less interested in the idea of an object, but really the idea of a material or an infill. So rather than one ball, a million balls, and how much could we scale it up to create something that would transform a space, like literally by pouring it into a space that it would totally overtake the environment. In this installation, we have, I think, about 350,000 balls that are filling this particular ocean. And the other materials that are in here, we're standing on this kind of, it's a carpet, really, like an exterior grade carpet. One of the things that you couldn't have ever really planned or designed for, but we found after we started making the beach, is that if you were in here and it's completely silent, and maybe you guys can find a way to capture this later, the sound of the carpet underfoot has this kind of crunching that feels like almost like sort of hard sand. The balls, if the space is silent and you don't see them, like if you're on the outside listening to it, it almost sounds like someone moving through water. So there's this sort of auditory connection with the beach that, again, works in our favor in the sense of reminding people of that experience of being at a real beach. But again, it's been transformed. It's been changed into something unexpected.
And so you called up like the store and you were like, hey, I got an order for 350,000 balls. Can you help me out?
Yeah. Well, the first one we said we needed 1 million. And yeah, we got them. Yeah.
How did this end up in Detroit?
So the reason this project is in Detroit is really due to a gallery here called Library Street Collective, Anthony and JJ Curris, who we were introduced to, and we started talking to just about Snarkitecture in general. And when the beach came up, I think they knew that they wanted that project here. And I think they have an existing relationship with Bedrock, and there was an opportunity to bring the project downtown and to use the space that we're in right now at 1001 Woodward, which is a sort of space in transition. It doesn't have a full-time tenant, has an incredible location right on sort of Campus Martius. We're looking out at downtown Detroit, like in the middle of it. So it felt like the right kind of venue for the project. And, they've been working on a number of sort of public art commissions in the surrounding area. And so while this isn't a permanent project, it is sort of activating the space. And, it's a public art installation that's here on a temporary basis.
To me, it feels like a fascinating companion with the idea that there's the Campus Martius beach right across the way that has the volleyball and, all the digging areas, but without the water. And this doesn't have the water, but this definitely brings that feel of the water. It's super cool.
Yeah, the Campus Martius beach was something that people, actually the first time I was here a couple years ago to meet with Bedrock, actually, it was during the summer, and you could look out and see that beach in the middle of the plaza here. So I think it's a nice connection for people that are familiar with coming down here in the summer and having that beach there, that you can come here in the winter now and have a different version of the beach.
And for people listening, it is warm. It's actually quite nice in here.
Yeah.
And how long will this installation run?
So I believe it's scheduled to run through mid-April. In any case, the important thing is that you can go to thebeachdetroit.com online to reserve tickets, but it is free. So it's a space that's totally free, open to the public. You just need to reserve a time slot. I would say if you don't have access to a computer, or if you happen to be in the area and have not reserved a ticket, you should stop by anyway. I think they are reserving walk-up tickets, so you can take your chances and hopefully walk in.
So the beach is open now and will be open Wednesday through Friday from noon to 8 p.m., Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Sundays from 12 noon to 6 p.m. The beach is free and also, I might add, family friendly. With that, it's the end of the week, so thanks are in order. Thanks to Daily Detroit members like Terry Pierce, Kevin Peterson, Kate Hill, John Elvico, Nemo Rathwold, Jennifer Bieneman, Alan Patterson, Jennifer Colbert, and more. If you'd like to join them, visit patreon.com/dailydetroit. Everything we get goes back into keeping the project alive and helping us cover the region we all love. Also, thanks to sponsors like Bamboo Detroit, Milo Digital, and The Rattlesnake. If you want to get in touch and become one, you can email us at dailydetroit@gmail.com. And thanks, of course, to everyone behind the scenes. Behind the scenes folks like Cheyenne Nosarini, Randy Walker, Nuri Gojai, and Lisa Meinzinger Abraham. And of course, Podcast Detroit. I'm Jer Stays. Take care of each other, and we'll see you around Detroit.
You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.